So, back on Fucked Up podcast, today we have Tom Kitchin, Michelin Chef, TV personality, author, director of the Kitchen Group, restaurateur and hotel owner. Tom Kitchin, welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Really thank you for accepting to come and do this for me, because
My pleasure.
for me, you've been quite an idol of many people in the hospitality industry, especially being Scottish as well. You know, for me, it's been quite an inspiration to watch your journey. And that's kind of what we want to talk about today. Is about the journey of Tom Kitchin to Tom Kitchin now. You know, it's been a massive inspirational journey for many people. So, how did you get into hospitality? What was your desire and your driving force that got you going?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, the journey. Wow, it's been some journey, I tell you. But yeah. Well, really, it all started, Calum. It all started was a wee frustrated boy who wanted to earn some pocket money when he was about 13, 14 years old. And I managed to get a job washing the dishes in the local pub where near my parents' house, which was called the Lomond Country Inn, which is on Loch Leven near Kinneswood. And I started washing the dishes, and I did it with energy and motivation, and that led on to me becoming starting to pick up the mantle of going into hospitality.
And was that supported by the family, or did they just see that as that was just a part-time job to get you going, or have they been behind you all the way?
No, absolutely. First of all, it was about a part-time job. It was about a part-time job, earning pocket money, doing that kind of thing. But I think it quickly transpired that I absolutely loved what I was doing, because I went from washing the dishes to helping on the starters, helping on the desserts, then working on the hot side. It was a good pub. There was some good cooks in there. Everything was fresh. And then I started working like summer holidays. And then the owner of the hotel, he must have noticed something, and he managed to get me like a little work experience up at Glen Eagles when I was about 15 years old. And by that time, it was picking up momentum. I was obsessed with, going to work. That's all I wanted to do was go to work. And, you got to remember, I'm 45 now. So back then when I was 13, 14, it wasn't rock and roll. It wasn't cool to be a chef. And when I went to my mum and dad and said, I want to leave school at 16 and I want to become a chef, that was a big moment. And I have to take my hat off to my parents, with going with my dream, my ambitions to leave school at 16, no qualifications really, and to go. And the deal was that if I left school at 16, I had to go to Perth College for at least a year to do hotel management, okay? And that's what I did. I went to Perth College. I did my year, but nothing was going to stop me. I was going to Glen Eagles. I was going to be an apprentice chef at Glen Eagles, and that's exactly what I did.
It's quite funny because the amount of people that you talk to, and school wasn't for them. They just wanted to get out. For me, I remember I said to my mum, I wanted a weight bench, and she says, I'm not buying you a weight bench. You need to go and get a job. So I went and got 2 jobs part time, working on a farm. 3 jobs, delivering papers, and I worked on a milk float before school. I got the hunger for making money then. It was like, the funny thing was I didn't buy a weight bench until about 4 years ago after all that. But school wasn't for me. And you said something there was like obsession. And I think obsession's quite crucial, especially for someone like yourself who's become the figure that they are, because you have to become obsessed.
Yeah. Obsession, just, I don't know, like you have this like hunger in your body. You see it in young people. You see it yourself when you meet people, young people. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing someone and you can see they've got that glint in the eye. They've got that determination, that motivation in any walk of life, whether it's sport, whether it's our industry, whether it's whatever. It's such a rewarding thing to take a young person and just take them under your mantle and help them progress and give them the tools. But at the end of the day, it's up to the individual, you know. But if you're working hard and you've got the right attitude, doors will open for you. And that's what I really try to get across to the next generation.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail there, because like I've always said that the doors are cracked open, but you've got to boot them wide open. You know, people will help you so far, but then it's after that it's up to you. You've got to go and make it happen.
Absolutely,
So,
I agree with that.
So you obviously done college and then you went to Glen Eagles. How long were you there for?
I was at Glen Eagles for just under 2 years, I think, and that was an incredible experience. You've got to imagine that, you know, young laddie, you know, going to Glen Eagles in the staff accommodation. I mean, it was a big, big kitchen. It's not the same kitchen that you go to now. There was like 70 chefs in the main kitchen. You know, there was like 12 in the larder, you know, like, and it was intimidating. It was intimidating. It was tough, but it was fantastic experience. I met some great people. My great friend Dominic Jack, who's my business partner now, you know, we were young commies together at the time. We're still best of mates now, you know, so there's a lot of friendships. There's a lot of other friendships that we made there as well. Big moments. But I did my time. I got around the sections, and that was important. You know, like you got to the larder section, you wanted to get to the veg section. You got to the veg section, you were desperate to get to the fish section. And if you got to the fish, then the holy grail was getting to the sauce section, you know, cooking the meat. You know, so it was all stepping stones. But the thing was, we were in that moment, you know, and I remember Dom and I, we'd be there, and it was like at the time, you know, so many chefs will relate to this as well, was White Heat, Marco Pierre White Heat coming out the book, you know, and we're just like, wow, what is going on in London? You know, like, this is mad. This is crazy, White Heat. And you start to put together the tree of gastronomy, you know, La Gavroche, and then the Waterside Inn, then La Tonclair, then La Manoir Quatre Saisons, and then, you know, Gordon Ramsay, White Heat. All these things were happening in London, and we were like, wow. And that was it. You know, we wanted to go. So Dom went to work with a chef called Michel Perrault, who was from the Waterside Inn, and I managed to get a job with Pierre Kaufman in London at restaurant La Tonclair.
Mm-hmm. And Pierre Kaufman, he was a great mentor for you early on, wasn't he?
Pierre Kaufman is, if we're talking mentors, he's the one. He's the one that guided me. He's the one that pushed me. He's the one that, he formed me as from boy to man kind of thing. You know, he was the one that really took me to the next level. Yeah, but yeah, I tell you what, you know, when I went there as a young lad, I was a fish out of water. I tell you, you know, like I was so out of my depth. You know, like it was every day was about survival. Every day we laddie just phoning his mum saying, "Oh, I think I'll come home at the end of the month." You know, like, you know, that was it. I was done. Because London is a great city, you know, it's like all big cities, they're amazing, but if you're not earning any money and you're getting pushed every day, they're very lonely places, you know, they're very lonely places.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? You know, because like money's not great, you know, and you work hard for it's more a reward than it is for the money, really, you know. And yeah. I think that's where the cream rises, I think, as well, because people, the obsession comes in, you know, they want it for different reasons. I think if you chase money, sometimes you fall short because the goal's the wrong goal. Mm-hmm. And do you think Pierre Kaufman, like most mentors, they know they're not going to keep you forever, you know, same as yourself with the chefs you've got, you know, and it's a stepping stone. You want them to get the better for themselves. And did he help you move forward from leaving him?
No,
or was that yourself?
No, absolutely. You know, but first of all, you know, it wasn't like I went to Pierre Kaufman and he became my mentor. You know, I had to.
No, he's still there.
I had to. No, mm-hmm. But even just for, I think, if I'm being really honest, even for him to recognize me, it took about a year. You know, like. Yeah. It's like you had to prove yourself. You had to dig deep. You had to become one of the team, and it was a very, you know, it was an incredible restaurant. It was in the heart of Chelsea. It was a 3-star Michelin restaurant. You know, it was the thing that blew my mind. I always remember like telling my mates, like, it's closed on a Saturday, Sunday. I mean, That's unheard of in Scotland, isn't it? Like, I'm going to close my restaurant on a Saturday and a Sunday. It was incredible, but it was such a prestigious restaurant. And this guy was like, he was so in control of what he was doing. He knew every single inch of the business. He knew exactly what was going on. And he was a master, an absolute master. He had more knowledge in his wee pinky than 95% of the chefs in the UK. Like, he controlled, his taste was amazing, his knowledge, his butchery, his skills, the things he could do with the food, the flavors he could extract were unbelievable. So it took a really long time to get his confidence. And there's little things like a little squeeze on the shoulder, or, like he'd be cooking rabbit legs for staff and he would give you one. And that was like, oh my God, he just gave me a rabbit leg, like, I think he likes me, that kind of, just wee things, yeah.
That's important though, isn't it? Because it's kind of, it just shows, it shows you, again, it's not the money thing, is it? You're wanting to cut your teeth with someone that you respect, but you're wanting the acknowledgement back from them, to grow.
Yeah.
So where did you move on when you left Pierre? Is that when you went across to France?
Yeah. So from there I went to Paris, and I went to a restaurant called Guy Savoy, which is on a street called Rue Triomphe, which is just behind the Arc de Triomphe. Again, very iconic French chef, 3-star Michelin. And there was a big thing about, Kaufman was very, like, he set the tone exactly. Like, if you're leaving me, you're not going to go somewhere and become a sous chef. You're going to take 2 steps back, because that's going to help you develop to go 3 steps forward, if you see what I mean. And there was a big burning ambition in myself. By this time I was, my skin was a bit tougher. I was a bit hot, I understood what was going on. I started to understand about gastronomy. And the big thing that kept hitting me was like, if I want to be good, I need to go to France. I need to go to France. I need to submerge myself in that culture and do that. So off we went. We went to France. And that, again, anyone who's put themselves in that situation where you move to another country, move to another culture, and you don't speak the language, is very challenging as well. It's very challenging as well. So that's what we did. Again, my friend Dominic was there. We had a great time. He was working for an amazing chef as well called Alain Salaveres. And, we were just two young Scotsmen in France and becoming Frenchmen. But we fell in love with the culture. We fell in love with the food. We fell in love with, like, we'd be invited by families to go and eat in the house. And, it was just like, it was incredible. They'd have the cheese on the table and you would fight over that bit and the crust of the bread, and Dad would pour the wine. And it was just like falling in love with food. Do you know what I mean? That was a really big thing. That was what Kaufman started to teach me. And that was the thing that started to make it a little bit different. You were falling in love with a whole idea of what food is, seasonality, eating, and the joy of food and what it does to bring people together. Yeah.
I think that's something that's quite evident when you go to France and Paris and that you go into a restaurant, same as in Japan. When I go there, what you find is you go into restaurants and all you hear is people speaking. Families are out eating and enjoying the experience. Whereas in the UK, a lot of time you can hear the coffee machine grinding the beans. It's like it's a total different environment. But I totally understand that Paris had to be a step for you, because it was like, the gastronomy is kind of, Paris was known to be a big hitter. Yeah. How many years did you stay in France for?
Well, so the story was like this. I went to Paris. I did a year and a bit with Guy Savoy, and I progressed through. First of all, I started to get a foundation of French, okay, and got that kind of foundation. Then I went back to London, and at that time, Pierre Kaufman was moving from Royal Hospital Road to the Barclay Hotel. So I went back there to help him with the move, and I got back into the Tonklé. I stayed I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years longer. But again, this burning ambition. But again, when you're working at the Tonklé, it's like you're working in France, because everything's in French, the service in French, all the waitresses are French, most of the chefs are French. When he calls on the checks, it's in French. So we did the time there, but there was this burning ambition to go back to France again. But by this time, I was like, Calum, I must have been like 24, 25 years old. I was stronger. I knew I was battle ready, if you know what I mean. And
Hmm.
I managed to get a job with Alain Ducasse in Hotel de Paris, Monte Carlo. And that was a big, big moment. That was a big moment for me to go and to move to the south of France. I don't know if you've been down that part of the world, but
Hmm.
as a young Scotsman arriving at Nice Airport and getting the bus along the Côte d'Azur into Monaco, it was just like, wow, what is this? This is crazy. But Alain Ducasse Monte Carlo is for me is the epitome of gastronomy. This is where dreams come true. This is like it does not get better than this. It was unbelievable. So to be the only English speaking Scotsman, the only person in there. There's a couple of Italians, a Swiss boy. Everyone else is French. 25 chefs to do 50 covers. Everything was what we call à la minute. So like when the check came on order, you took the artichoke and you started to peel it to order. It was an incredible, credible gastronomic lesson. But you had to, if I'd gone to Alain Ducasse when I was 18, I would never have survived. So I went there
No.
when I was at an age where I was ready. And that's another big thing that I always think about now with my wiser headed, with these young people. They come to me and they say, "Oh, chef, I'm going to leave after this amount of time." I say, "That's fine. If you want to leave now, you go. But I don't think the timing is quite right, because you've not done this, you've not done that." So when, it is a little bit about, it's like a footballer picking the moves, when do I leave that club to go to that club, that kind of thing. When do I leave Aberdeen? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Calvin Ramsay.
Aye. That's another subject. We're not getting
Yeah,
into that.
yeah. So that was like the pinnacle for you, really. Probably did this help you believe in yourself more as well, going to Alan Ducasse? Did it kind of, like you said, if you'd gone there earlier, that probably you'd have broke you, wouldn't it? You wouldn't have survived. But you've gone there when the time was ready. Do you think that was just like the icing ready for you to step off and be on
Yeah,
your own?
no, there was definitely like it was a big moment. It was like, in a way, it was like a finishing school because the finesse was unbelievable. The attention to detail was, with all due respect to Kaufman and Guy Savoy, it was a different kind of finesse and attention to detail. The flavors of Kaufman will always be the flavors that are the truest to my heart. But the attention to detail there at Ducasse was unbelievable. And and what you do as well is like, and it's only human nature. You start to take everything from everyone that you work with. You
Hmm.
take ideas from them, and then as you start to mold all the different ideas together from all the different chefs that you work with, and then you bring in your own ideas. That's how magic starts to happen, And even now, I think about cast dishes, I think about Guy Savoy dishes, we think about Kaufman dishes, we think about dishes that we do here in the restaurant with Chef Lachlan, and we're always thinking about different things.
If you actually said something similar to me when I first came down and met you at the kitchen after I got that monkfish livers delivered to you when you
Uh-huh.
were doing some dish. And I remember coming in and I sat down at the table and you have your map. And I opened the map and it was a week before Fish and Chip Shop of the Year final. And I opened it and I was all about provenance. And this map was the epitome on provenance. And you
Uh-huh.
came and sat down with me and I said, I need to steal this and copy this idea for giving to the judges. And you said to me then, this isn't stealing, this is what you do. You go to different restaurants and you pick bits of it, and it might not be today, but later on you'll think, I could take that idea and transform it into my own. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's what people have got to realise. That's how you move forward. That's how you get drive. You can't have all these magic moments yourself. You've got to be inspired by other people.
Yeah,
And this is.
inspiration is everywhere, isn't it? The razor clams dish that we did, that we have here at the restaurant, which is famous, and
Mhm.
we've done. I remember just going to the shore pub around the corner and having razor clams, and then you're like subconsciously you're thinking about this for days, and like, I'm going to do a dish with that. I'm going to do that. Or it could be you go to, your grandmother's house and she does something that really inspires you, so everything about food is about memories, inspiration, ideas. But when you travel, when you put yourself out there, when you visit different things, you eat in different places, you visit different countries, you get inspired. It's human nature. And I think you can see that in people, and, people who do travel, do move, do visit, you can see that there's a different vibe to it.
Yeah. So is this when you came back and opened the kitchen, was it?
No, actually, I did something a little bit crazy after Ducasse. I went to work for Lord and Lady Bamford, who own JCB Diggers, and it was a little bit off the cuff. I decided to do something else, and I think it was actually one of the best moves I ever did. I was working for a private family, and my whole life had been Michelin, and working like that. Suddenly, I was dropped into this environment where, yes, we do amazing fancy food, but then someone would say to me, "Can I have an omelette Arnold Bennett, please?" I was like, "A what? An omelette Arnold Bennett?" Shit, getting the cookbooks, because I'd never done that. I'd just been in France, learning how to, turn artichokes and, do all sorts of fancy stuff. And then, that was it really started to hit home to me, the essence of simplicity. Here you have a very wealthy family who love food, who travel the world. You travel with them, you're doing food wherever. And the big thing that came back to me was simplicity. The more you complicate it, the more people don't want, it's like just a special occasion. And I think that, if you look at Kaufman's food, the simplicity of it, you cannot chefs, we like to overcomplicate sometimes. And, I've been guilty of it many times, of putting too many things on the dish. But simplicity for me is really the key. And when simplicity means also about buying simply the best produce that you can buy. And that has always been my philosophy. That doesn't mean the most expensive. It just means the best, whether it's the wild mushrooms, whether it's the mackerel, whether it's the wild turbot, whether it's the first grouse, whatever it is, trying to buy the best. And, you talk about the map earlier, when we started out, it just started to take off, Calum. I always remember the early days, doing the pig's head and then the langoustine and then doing some cooking demos and things starting to get bigger, got the star really early. And then you start meeting people and then people start bringing their products to you and it grows and grows. And then you have this infrastructure of suppliers and then understanding the world. You're close to fishermen and all these kind of, trying to understand the fisherman's world, trying to understand the hunter's world, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, but it's very beautiful.
I think that's quite important, that you need to understand all these people though. I think, one of the things I've done with my fish supplier, I'd be phoning him and saying, look, I want the fish cut slightly different, and he'd be like, why? And I'd be saying, look, because when I cook it, this is what happens. So what I'd done was I said, right, I'll come and spend a day with you, and then you can come and spend a day with me. So you'll see the problems that it means to me, and I'll see why you don't understand it. So we both got an understanding of each other's business, and it was one of the best things I've done, because Absolutely. we could have been battling. Or actually, no, I could have left them over something that could have been sorted so easily, And I've had that relationship now for 16 years, and I've got no reason to move anywhere else, because they've never let me down. We understand each other's businesses and we respect each other's businesses,
Yeah, and those petty things that you do when you're young and you think someone, why is the fish bad today and that, and you throw your toys out the pram and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it just comes with maturity and understanding, sit down conversation, listen, this isn't working here, what can we do to understand each other's world better, and it's just positive, that sense, but understanding each other's world is really important. And I always remember, people always having a go at suppliers all the time, having a go, that's no good. How many times did they say, do you know what, that is sensational? And I think that's what's quite nice about the modern world, is you can share something now on Instagram, on a story, incredible produce from so and so, congratulations, that kind of stuff, so it is very positive now in that sense.
Yeah, I try and encourage my chefs that, if the fishes come in and it's absolutely beautiful, send them a message and tell them, because at the end of the day, that's as
Yeah,
important as anything. You've got to kind of
absolutely,
you can't just message them when you've got a problem.
exactly.
So you opened the kitchen in Edinburgh,
Yep,
Leith. What was that? 2006,
2006. Yeah,
and gained your first
2006.
Michelin star. Next year? 6 months later, I think, was it?
6 months. Yeah, 6 months. Six
Bloody hell,
months. We
that's
opened. I think we opened in June, and then the Michelin Guide came out in January. So it was yeah, it was incredibly fast. It was, it seems an awful long time ago now. It's 16 years. 16 years we've retained the star. We've not won the other one, but that doesn't matter. Um, but it's been an incredible journey, and like I'm very grateful to Michelin. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart, because they believed in us so early on. We were a
mhm.
very young, raw couple starting a business. You know what it's like. You can be the greatest chef in the world, but actually when you have the pressures of business on your shoulders and you have to develop and grow, it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone
No,
in that sense, but they believed in us, and that helped us get on the map. That helped us, get people into the restaurant. That allowed us to grow as a company, and because we started so humbly, honestly. We had our savings, we had mum and dad's savings, we had granddad's savings, and we had a 70 grand overdraft from the bank. That was it. We had a second-hand stove. We had all the pots and pans from Pierre Kaufman's restaurant that had been in a warehouse for years after he closed the restaurant. We had 20 bottles of wine on the list, and we started. But that was the best thing, though. That was the best way we could have done it. Do you know what I mean? If we'd done it with huge investment and, big debt and pressure, we would never have been allowed to grow into it naturally and organically. We would always have been chasing our trail. So we were really lucky that we started like that, and it managed to grow in a successful way.
I think if you'd gone in with massive investors and like no debt over your head, it changes the way you work a bit as well. I think when you know you've got to pay, when you know you've got to pay that money back, you've got to turn it over. You want a new stove in your kitchen. The only way you're getting that new stove is if you actually make some profit. It's not a case of knocking
Absolutely.
on the door and saying, give me a new stove, please. The
Exactly. And
desire.
then everything, sorry to cut you off, everything becomes special, when you redo the toilets. You're like, yes, we've done the toilets, like when you buy new pots and pans or new cutlery and that should be the journey. That should be the journey, taking it humbly and naturally and then growing into the shoes. I think that's really important for anyone who's thinking about starting their business.
So when you got your first Michelin star, how old were you? Was it 29?
I think it was
Was it?
28. 28,
28.
29. No, I can't remember. Yeah.
Youngest chef in Scotland to get a Michelin star.
Yeah, I'm sure someone's beaten it now, but I think at the time that was certainly what it
And
was.
that must have felt pretty special to feel like you left school at 16 with this hunger, and to come
Yeah,
back to your own environment with this was some achievement, eh?
it was, Calum. Absolutely. I mean, if I'm really honest with you, uh, you know me, I'm the type of person, and my wife's always on at me as well. It was like, right, what's next? Like I was like, I never really celebrated the moment. Like it must have been the youthfulness, the rawness, the ambition in me at the time, which is still burning, but it was a different type of a different moment in my life. So it was amazing, but I was like there, bang, straight first thing next morning, right, let's go. That was the mentality. And whether that's right or not, but I've always Kaufman, going back to the values that he put into to myself, and Michaela's exactly the same. Is you like It's like that old expression: "You're only as good as your last meal."
Yeah.
And in this industry, you never know. You always you close the restaurant, you open up the next day, and you don't know who's coming through the door. You do not know who's coming through the door,
No.
and that's what gives you that kind of adrenaline and desire constantly to become better.
And your wife, Michaela, her background, she worked in Dubai, I think, did she? And she was in the UK. Off the top of my head, I can't remember where it was.
Yeah, no,
She
Michaela.
Sorry.
No, go on. Yeah, Michaela, she moved to the UK to go to the University of Surrey to do a degree in hospitality. Then she went to the Savoy. She worked in the Savoy and did the whole training program in the Savoy, doing all the different hotels within the Savoy group. And then she went to Dubai and Burj Al Arab. Yeah, so incredible training as well.
One of the things that I love about your restaurants is she's heavily influencing the decor. It's a very kind of Scottish but a Nordic kind of Scandinavian feel, and I think they both complement each other, and it really, I think it's a great feel for what your restaurants and businesses are.
No, that's really beautifully said, the way that you say that, because in my mind, there is absolutely no doubt that we won't be where we are today without the vision of Michaela. The vision of Michaela to create this atmosphere where people come in, where they come through the front door and they leave the troubles of the world, but also a restaurant that's not stuffy, that's not intimidating, but it's just comfortable. It's the kind of place that you want to go with your friends, with your partner, with your family. And whether it's the kitchen, the Scranna's Galley, Bonnie Badger, or Cora, each of them are different, but they have this warmth and this, where you can really enjoy. And that is like, this is, I'm her biggest fan in that. We would not have had the success we had without that. But of course, I'm sure we'll come on to it. Everything about business is about teamwork.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was leading, is like family life. It's, as I said at the start, for me, that's been my biggest pitfall. Business, I can run a business, I can help anyone, but I could never help myself. But you need a solid background, you need a solid backing in the family. I know your parents have been good to you, but your wife is, she's not just there for you, she's part of it, and I think
she's part of it,
yeah, and it's really evident, and what I love to see as well on your social media is your kids have been coming in and they've been peeing the pods, and it's great watching. Do you think any of them will follow in your footsteps?
God, who knows? I couldn't answer that truthfully. I would imagine, when they grow and life takes its turns, that it does. There will be some interest in that sense, but there's no pressure. But I would hope so in some way, because I'm not going to be one of these people that say, don't become a chef, don't come into hospitality, because it is the most, if you find the passion, then you can have the most wonderful career and life in this industry. But if you don't have the passion, it can be a very daunting and heavy burden on your life, I think.
Yeah, there's got to be a love for it. I find as well as a lot of the people, like I've said to all my kids, I'd love it if they wanted to come on board. But I've said I would rather they went away and done something else first, because then they come, rather than feeling like you're just coming to work for dad and it become a hobby. It's got to be, you've got to come into it like you would any other job,
And you've got to earn it as well. You've got to earn it. I mean, there's so many stories, you hear, big iconic French restaurants where the son or the daughter comes in to take it and the chef gives back the Michelin stars and, all these kind of things. There's so many, family businesses are amazing, but they would also be very challenging. Yeah. Because you like, for example, myself and Michaela are the ones who have created this, but, to pass that on to someone else with a different vision, I can imagine that's very difficult, but we're nowhere near that stage just now.
No,
all my boys are going to be footballers, so that's the only dream they've got just now. So let them live that dream.
And how did you find having a family, the challenges of that and running the business? That, especially when you had the twins, because that's a different league, isn't it? It's.
Aye, that was a challenging. Well, it's hard. Like now I always remember the early days. We had when Casper was born in 2008. It was so crazy, man. Like Michaela was. I remember, the day she gave birth, she was like doing the wages on the side, like in the hospital, because That we were so raw. We were so raw that we just, I can't do the wages. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry, Michaela, but I know you've just had a baby, but any chance you could do the wages? And I know that sounds terrible, but that is just the way it was. I remember like Michaela answering the phone and the same time rocking the maxi cozy with her foot to try and put Casper to sleep. I remember, like one of those kind of like, like the kids had croup and like rushing to the hospital with the kids having croup, and then me being me, like, right, I've got to go now, and then rushing back to the restaurant, and then it was like the Michelin were in, and it was just like, there was so many crazy moments, that, I know a lot of chefs can relate to, or restaurateurs, that, it was insanity. It was insanity. And, even now is absolute insanity sometimes, but it works, it's a lifestyle, it's a passion, but I give as much to the kids as I do to the businesses, but that takes up the day is long and it's pretty frenetic. Yeah.
So, what does do you have a morning routine that you do before you come to work? Is there anything specific? Do you go running or?
Yeah. So we do the kids in the morning. We do that together, Michaela and I. That's your first battle of the day, is getting four boys out of the house. Have you got this? Have you got that? Oh, Jesus. So that's the first battle. But I'm pretty fanatical about the gym. Gym is the big thing for me. That gives me a real sense of focus in my life. I'm probably 4 or 5 times a week doing my exercise, Monday to Friday. It's something that I think, if I could say to anyone who's anyone in life really, if you don't have a routine like this in your life, it's not for me to say, but it's something that really helps me. It helps me refocus. It helps me forget. It helps me feel much better. It helps me take on the day. A lot of people will say, I don't have time for that in my life. I think you do, because if I can find time to do the gym, you can find time to do the gym. It's about just making that time. And, if I could give any advice to anyone, who's struggling or having pressures, just try and step back a little bit, try and do some exercise, even if it's just walking, whether it's swimming, whether it is whatever, go cold water swimming, find something like that releases all those endorphins and helps you mentally. And, I think that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, definitely. That was a big turning point for me. 5 years ago, I started doing fitness. I was doing nothing. I was just living like a pirate. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I started doing gym work, and it was like actually time to switch off as well, without having to think about anything else that was going on in your life. And it's come a big part for me now. I've got an ice bath in the garden. I get up every morning and throw myself into that. This morning I didn't want to go in it. It was like horrible outside. But you know what? 10 minutes later you feel magic for it. It's like just
absolutely
that little moment.
But it's not, like, I always feel that conscious that people think like, if you have got that in your life, you're kind of preaching. But it's just little steps, like whether it is just going for that walk, or, going for a swim, or like you say, in an ice bath or something, cold shower, little steps like that, they can really help you mentally, I think, and help you deal with the day. Because there's always these problems, but the problems are never actually as big as you think they are. Yeah. And when you can actually step away from it, you come back to the problems, you learn to deal with them. And that's very healthy. Yeah.
And how do you manage to divide your time between all your restaurants and hotels? Because it's a fair spread, and even though they're in like fairly close proximity, it takes a bit of time to get between them as well. Anyway, but how do you manage that?
Well, first of all, I'm only one person. I can do a lot in a day, but I can't manage them all. So I generally I'm always back for service at the kitchen, okay. But then after that, the secret to our business is that we have some great people who have been with us for an awfully long time. We have Michaela, we have Philippe, we have Dominic now, we have Peter the MD, we have Matteo. People who live and breathe the philosophy of what we do, so helping, having people to go around and support and do all these things. But you have to be hands-on. You have to be constantly approachable. You have to be able to, answer the WhatsApp group quickly, answer the problems, come up with ideas, on the phone, this, that. You have to be always available for the team. And that is something that we pride ourselves on. We're always there. We take the call 24/7. We're here to help. There's always problems. And generally speaking, it works in a crazy way. We don't get it right all the time. But we're very proud of what we've created. We're very proud of the levels we've got to. We don't get it right all the time, but we're really big on getting people to progress and have a career in the company. So if they've come through and they're starting to grow, that is really helpful.
And what about the Bonnie Badger? So I've been down and stayed there. I thought it was fantastic, and you can tell your wife's influence in there, but it really works, and it's such a fantastic place. So you can take it because of the golfers, because it's such a golfing area, but the beach area just behind it and stuff. It's stunning, with one of the best breakfasts going. What made you decide to venture into this area? Because this is a total different area, really.
Yeah, it's a different area, but if you think about it, Michaela's background is hotels. So we had that little card up our sleeve, hotels and creating. Gullen has always been a place that we visited as a family. We used to go, it was the perfect Sunday trip with the family. Put everyone in the car, dogs, go to Gullen, walk the beach. And then it was like, when this came up on the market, it was just like everything was drawing us towards it. It was like, oh no. But when you can feel it, you're like, oh shit, like this is the one, isn't it? This is the one. And are you there? So, we put all our eggs in one basket, and we went for the golfing, as it was called then. And it's been an incredible journey. It's not been easy. It's been up and down, and it's hard. But I feel that we've created something now very special. It's challenging. It's a real monster. We have the garden in the summer. We have the afternoon tea. We have private dining. We have the pub food. Now we have the restaurant food. Breakfast. It's like, whoa. So. It is hard. It is hard, but it's very rewarding.
I was doing earlier on in the year, I'd done with my wife, we'd done the John Muir Way, we biked it, and we decided, because obviously we've got to pass through your neighbourhood, and we thought, right, we'll stop in there for lunch. So I'd messaged them and asked them to put us outside. We sat outside, we'd done 2 bottles of wine, and we'd done like a seafood platter, and then we were like, I don't want to get back on the bike now. It was like, it was the biggest mistake I'd ever made, really.
Yeah.
So out of your mentors and your idol, who's the kind of 3 biggest inspirations you've had in your career? Would that be the people from early on, or is there other people that inspire you now?
No, I think inspirations, there's so many people that have helped along the way, so many people that have guided me. Inspirations, well, without doubt, like we talked about Michaela. Michaela's been, she's been a rock. She's been a visionary. She's driven this business forward, and everyone knows that she's the boss here. She's the one. She pops in, she sees that. After that, I have to really say my dad as well. He's been he's been a rock. He's helped us grow the business and develop. And these people, Michaela, my dad, and lots of other people along the way, they've helped take the business forward, but also allowed me to cook. And that's been really important. I've not been dragged away from the stoves. I've been allowed to grow and develop, and that's really important that I was in the kitchen and still am. After that, Pierre Kaufman, absolutely Pierre Kaufman. Still today, he's my mentor. He's my father figure. He's someone that really just put together the mindset of becoming a chef, a top chef, without a doubt.
And what challenges do you think you're facing at the moment within the business?
Well, I'm facing the same challenges as everyone else, Calum. You know, it's been a very challenging period in our lives. It's a very challenging period for everyone in the industry. We've gone from one, you know, we've gone through so many different battles. And I keep saying to the guys, it's so important that we keep the fight going, you know, because what really hit home with me in the crisis and the COVID crisis there, and when we stopped and we couldn't operate, how many different parts of life, hospitality involved. You know, with the restaurants not working, or, you know, hotels or anyone in the industry, you know, taxi drivers, florists, all the incredible suppliers that we have, you know, relying on us. And so, you know, we're here. It's about survival. It's about keeping people's jobs. It's about providing. It's about just getting through these difficult moments. But we will, and we will come through better, stronger, and hopefully good days will come ahead. You know, but it's really important we go. And it's a bit like, you know, our restaurant Cora. You know, when we reopened it, it was 4 days a week. I don't want to have a restaurant that's 4 days a week.
Yeah.
I want to have a restaurant like Cora that's 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. I don't mind if the staff want to work 4 days a week. That's absolutely fine. But I feel that we have to keep the fight going. You know, it's important that we are operating 7 days a week, and our suppliers are then operating 7 days a week. You know, wine merchants, all the different people that support that. So the fight is going on. We're back to 7 days a week now, and for me, that's like an achievement. You know, there's been so many achievements over the years, but these things are achievement. Surviving this has been an achievement.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you think has been? I'm a great believer in you've got to make mistakes in life to be able to grow. So because you learn from them. What do you think your biggest lesson's been in life? That you think it was hard time at the time, but actually it was beneficial to us now?
You know, I've been, you know, resilience is an incredibly important thing in life. You know, like if you haven't been through tough times, you won't build up resilience. My whole life has been about resilience, going up and down, having to fight. The secret to success is not a straight line. It's very jiggly wobbly. You know, this is really, really important. You know, opening a business, you know, you're very influenced by your mentors, and then trying to become a manager, trying to manage people, you know, it takes a long time to grow into that role. It doesn't, like, you know, when you promote someone to sous chef or to manager, they don't just automatically have the tools to manage people and to work with that. So yeah, that's been a big learning curve in my life. And absolutely, we've made mistakes along the way, but we've become better people. We become passionate, but we never lose the passion. We never lose the passion, the will, the desire. And, you know, a restaurant like the Kitchen is not for everyone. I understand that. I understand that. It's a very high performance kitchen. You know, it's full on every single day, but people know why they're here. They're here to learn, you know, the true skills. The true skills, and hopefully they can go on and go to a better restaurant than us and become a better chef. But it's my job to give them the tools, and myself and Chef Lachlan and everyone here, to give them the tools to go on, okay? And we try to do it in exactly the correct way, and that's really important to us.
And how do you think chef life's changed from when you started to now for like new people coming into the industry? You know, because it has changed dramatically, hasn't it?
It's changed massively. It's changed. It's unbelievable. You can't compare what it was like as a young chef myself and what it's like for a young chef today. And that's good. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're going into territory here, but I think, without a doubt, it's improved for the better. And without a doubt, I think somewhere in the middle would be nice, you know, because, I think in any walk of life, you know, it's gone from one extreme to the other. Somewhere in the middle, you know, we have to be able to push young people. We have to be able to push them to get the best out of them. But it has to be done in the correct way. And I understand that, okay? I understand that 100%. And it has always been with the best intentions like that. But, you know, today is a completely different world. But at the same time, we need to teach people the correct and proper way of working and philosophy of life. And that is really important. And young people who want to work hard, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, because that is something that we talked about it earlier. When you work hard and you have a great attitude and a can-do attitude, you can succeed and doors will open.
So I believe that things can happen. Well, I believe things happen for a reason anyway. But I believe that things happen, and you can have it can be quite influential to you. And actually, one of the things for me was a day I was sitting in Ondine, and you were sitting there with your wife at the bar having lunch, and I left you alone because I know how precious sometimes that moment is, to get away from work and no one bothering you and just having a bit of time with family. And you came up to me and said, it's good to see you having your battering here with Roy. And when I was leaving, you grabbed me and you said to me, well done for what you've done, not just for your industry, but for the hospitality industry. And I walked away from there and I felt so proud. And I thought, to be acknowledged by you was really something else. But the way you'd done it really was quite inspirational, and it meant so much to me. Is there a moment for you in your career?
So many moments, Calum. So many moments where, acts of kindness, acts of recognition have really hit a note with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whether it's a young chef saying, thank you for this experience, you've changed my life. Whether it's a 3-star Michelin chef coming in and saying, wow, I love what you're doing. Whether it's the kind words that you're giving me there. It's really important that we learn to give these words back as well. This is what keeps the world moving. I'm so inspired. I don't care about how many Michelin stars you've got, where you're doing. We're all in the same industry. We're all the same people. It's about being a good person. It's about really, just those moments of saying or reaching out when you're in crisis. Who reaches out to you? Who reaches out and says, do you know what? I just want to say, these are moments that you don't forget. Do you know what I mean? These are moments that give you that that will to carry on, to keep the fight going, And acts of kindness like that are really, really important.
The thing is, it doesn't actually take a lot, but it gives so much, doesn't it?
It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. And, it's even I have a young chef in there who's fighting every day, struggling. The other day he did the potato and the gnocchi and everything. And I pulled him over and I says, listen, young man. And he's like that. Yes, chef. I was like, that is absolutely fantastic. This is what it's all about. Congratulations. You have taken a humongous step today. His wee face was and that is what it's all about. It's just wee stepping stones, to take you forward, and, whether it's from yourself, whether it's from, I had Franson in the other day who gave some amazing feedback, whether it's, giving the feedback to a young chef. That's what it's all about.
Definitely. One of the things that have helped me develop lately, and I'm dyslexic, so reading has never been something for me, but I've got into Audible books. Can you tell me what 3 books that you would recommend people to listen to or read? Don't say Jordan Henderson, because
Jordan Henderson. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I'm really fascinated by people who make it to the top. Like you, I like to listen to things. I really enjoy the High Performance podcast, which talks about getting to the top, what it takes, the sacrifice that it takes. And, I love football. I love sport. I'm always amazed at the sacrifice that these people make to get to the top of the tree. And it's exactly the same in my world with chefs. If you look at, what chefs sacrifice to get to the top, it's not easy. It's not easy. And it's that day in, day out. So I think inspiration, audio things are really podcasts for me. That's a big thing for me. When I'm running, I'm listening to these podcasts. I'm getting motivated. I heard something the other day about, the exciting bit was the climb to the top of the tree. And when you get to the top of the tree, it's like, what do I do now? So how do you keep it motivated? It's really interesting. But then, cookbooks, I'm very influenced by Alain Ducasse, Grand Livre de Cuisine, Marco Pierre White we talked about, back in the day, those kind of things. Young chefs. So these are books that you should be getting stuck into. These are really important.
And your own books.
My own books, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have you on here.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Where can our listeners find you on social media and stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter now and again, but mostly Instagram. And yeah, you know, we're here in Edinburgh. You know, I'm still very hands-on. I'm in the restaurant 99% of the time, and you know, I really hope that we can welcome them to the restaurant. And I just want to say to you, young man, well done you for stepping out your comfort zone here. This is brilliant, and I really hope it helps inspire some people along the way as well.
Thank you, sir. Cheers, Tom. Thank you.
Cheers. All the best. Ciao.